Hi guys! New week, new yarn dyeing project. And this week I am going to make something inspired by the new Jurassic movie, Jurassic World Rebirth, I think. I love those movies. I have seen all of them like a gajillion times. They're not all, top-notch movies per se, but I love them for the adventure. I'm all about adventures. I love adventures. So, yeah, I really like them. I guess you could say they're my comfort movies. So, when there's a new Jurassic movie coming out, you better be sure I'm going to watch it. However, when filming this, it's not out yet. By the time you see this video, it will have been out for a couple of weeks, I think. So, I'm not sure about the colors, but I think I've seen the trailer for it. So what I'm going for, I think, is going to be like a dark green and some gold. Because there's an island there, there's a lot of lush vegetation and all of that. So that's the inspiration for now. Hopefully, by the time the movie is out, I did hit the spot. We'll see. Anyhow. I have a particular project in mind that I want to make as well, so I'm dyeing something specifically for that, but that's for another video. But what I am dyeing is 2 skeins of superwash merino, fingering weight. I've used Drops baby merino, I think. It's called, Drops baby merino. So 2 skeins of that, they are 50 grams each, and I have used my small niddy noddy to make the skeins or the hanks. So that's what we're going to work with today. I guess you know the drill by now. Time to soak the yarn. I have got my skeins here that I'm going to dye. I've got a couple of reusable zip ties. I got my citric acid, my soaking tub, and I got my measuring cups with about 2 liters of cold water. I think that should be enough since we're only doing 2 small skeins today. We shall see. I'll add on if necessary. So first things first, I am putting on the zip ties, like so. And let's do one on the other as well. There we go. And I'm going to add in, use about half a tablespoon of citric acid. And the water. You don't need to use citric acid both in the soaking tub and in the dye tub if you're in heat or if you're dyeing on the stove. I usually do a little bit of both just to be sure. And I am grabbing my skeins and just adding them to the tub. I'm just pushing them down to make sure they get properly soaked. The citric acid is going to help us get the dye and the colors to stick to the yarn. And there we go. That's all we need to prepare. Now we're just going to let it sit for at least half an hour and then we will be ready to dye. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to kick you. But yeah, sitting for half an hour and then we'll be dyeing. All right, we're getting ready. Yarn has been soaking. This is the pan I'm going to dye in. Got the citric acid. I got a measuring cup with 2 liters of cold water ready here. Not sure I'm going to be using all of it. We shall see. And I've got my dye tray here. I got an old empty yogurt container with just cold water and a spoon in that I can use to poke the yarn. A couple of teaspoons to grab the yarn powder with. Always make sure you have separate tools for yarn dyeing and your kitchen stuffs. Got some gloves and a mask to protect your airways. Possibly the most important thing here. You don't want to inhale any of the yarn, the dye powders. This is Jacquard acid dyes in the color Spruce, which is a deep green. And I've also got Aztec gold. I'm not sure this is going to focus, but this is Aztec gold. So a green and a gold is what we're going for today. And I'm going to start off by transferring the soaked yarn into the pan. I'm going to just squeeze out some of that water and transfer it into the pan. I'm going to add a little bit of citric acid here as well. So, and I'll be squeezing some of the water out of those skeins just to make it easier to transfer them into this pan. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to move the camera. I'm sorry, I kicked you again. What is it today? Yeah, I'm going to squeeze the water out of the skeins and transfer them to the pan, and we'll start dyeing. The yarn has been transferred to the pan, and I'm going to pour on some of the water from the measuring cup. I don't want to fill it up too much because I want some of the yarn to poke up above the surface of the water. Let's start there. How much is that? That's about 1 liter. I'm going to pinch it a little. Might add a little bit more. So you don't want to burn the yarn either. And let's see, I'm now at, oh, it's hard to read. I think 1.4 liters, just about. I think that's good. Now, before we start using the dyes, do put on the mask to protect your airways. I'm going to do that now. And then we are ready to dye. So we're going to start off with the green color first. This is what the powder looks like. Looks more like a very, very deep red actually, but it is green. And I'm just grabbing a little bit on my teaspoon, and I will be just sprinkling it around. This is quite a powerful color, if memory serves correct, so I'm going to start slowly and just add more as I go if I need it. Okay, we have got a good start. I'm going to turn the heat on, start heating the water. And I want the gold to be more like accents in this colorway. At least I think so. That's my idea for now anyway. So I'm going to start with the green and let it kind of settle into the yarn a bit. And make that the dominant color. So I'm just going to let this heat up and let the dye soak in a bit, and then I will be adding more. I think actually, you know what, I can add a little bit more now, because I can already see that some spots are lighter. And that is what happens because the yarn that we're dyeing on is white. It would be pretty much the same as mixing the color you want to dye with white. It gets lighter. Same principle. There we go. I'm gonna let that sit and I'll get back to you. Water is starting to heat up, which means the yarn will start to, or the dye will start to stick to the yarn. I'm going in with the gold now, the Aztec gold. Ooh, that was a lot. And I'm just adding to the wider spots. There we are. And I am carefully going to dab that, trying to not contaminate the yarn here with the green. I want just the gold, so we need to be very careful. There we are. And I feel that I want a little bit more darker green in these lighter areas, so I'm going to add a little bit here. This is going to be a very saturated dye bath, and we'll see how far it will exhaust. Hopefully we'll take most of it. There we go. And as you can see, it's starting to heat up. We don't want it to boil, but we want it, all of it, to be really hot. So I'm just going to be careful when I poke the yarn. I don't want to disturb it too much because, like I said, I do want these golden specks, or spots rather, to be maintained. And as you can see around the edges here, the water is very saturated with dye right now. So I'm just going to let it sit for a while longer, just staying hot and keeping an eye on it. Dye is starting to settle in to the yarn now a bit more, so I am poking it a little more to make sure that we get dye on the other side as well of the skein. We don't want white spots. As you can see here, we have some quite light spots there. Trying to keep the gold above the surface. And I'm going to try to avoid adding more dye now into the dye bath. I'd rather just scoop up some saturated water and transfer it to the spots where the dye has exhausted more. There we go. And we're just letting it sit to exhaust as much as possible. I've been poking a little at the golden spots, and I'm going to add in a little bit more of that. Saturate it more with that color. There we go. And we wait again. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but the dye is starting to exhaust somewhat. It's getting lighter. And since I have put so much dye into this pan, I'm not going to wait for it to exhaust completely. I'm quite happy with the result I'm getting here. So what I'm doing now, I'm just going to turn off the heat and set it aside, because it will continue to exhaust while it's still hot. And I don't expect it to exhaust fully because I used a lot of dye. So We're turning off the stove, setting it aside and letting it cool completely. And once it's completely cool, we can rinse it and hang it to dry. Make sure you always let it cool completely first though. We are ready to rinse. I have added cold water and a splash of soap in my rinsing tub here. You don't need to use soap. You can use shampoo or dish soap, whatever you got. I like this one. If you want to try it, I do have the smaller bottles in the web shop. But like I said, you can use whatever you got handy that you basically can use in your hair, because that's what this is. Okay, so I think it's kind of hard to see on camera what this looks like. Maybe you can see a little. But it is a very dark, lush dark green. Oh, you can't really see it. I'm just going to squeeze out some excess water. And as you can see in the dyeing pan, it did exhaust quite a lot. I am very pleased with this. And I'm just squeezing out the water. You don't want to wring it. May it damage the yarn. Let's see if we can get a... There you go. Now you can see some of the color. So I'm putting it in the tub. I'm just going to grab... Set that aside. I'm just using an old empty ice cream container to put the yarn in after I've rinsed it. It's only 2 small skeins, so it will fit in there. There we go. I pretty much just dunk it. Now you can see I am getting some green in the water here. Not a lot, considering the darkness of the green color. And sometimes you can also get a few specks of dye on the zip ties. So always make sure to rinse those too. There we go. Quite pleased. I'm quite pleased with this. Let's rinse the other one. And again, the zip ties really help to help you get the skeins out of the water without getting the yarn all tangled. So like I said, we have some excess green here. Not too bad considering the amount of green I used in the dye tub. Look at that. This definitely says Jurassic Park to me. So I'm going to rinse it once more since we do have some excess dye in the water. And then we'll hang it to dry. It's time for the finished object, and I'm very pleased. This is what it looks like. Can you see that? I don't know about you, but this color for sure says Jurassic Park to me. You know, like the deep green, some gold. Oh yeah. I do have a project in mind for this. We shall see if I can make it. I should be able to. It's a crochet thing. So, fingers crossed, eh? But yeah, quick, fun project. Really like how it came out, and of course you don't have to like Jurassic Park to dye this colorway if you want to try it. Yeah, maybe earrings. No, well, I'm really happy with it. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you try to make it, or I don't know, something of your own liking, maybe from a movie or something. Anyway, that's it for this week. Remember to like and subscribe and all that stuff. And I'll see you next time. Bye.
You got me feeling good. right by your side, lost in every move, writing down your smile. Baby, hold me tight, let me trace your line.